In this episode, we discuss how much exercise you need to do per week. It's probably no surprise that exercise is really important for our general health. It might be a surprise, though, that exercise is actually a really effective treatment for many different conditions. If we look at some of those conditions, the list is pretty extensive. So when we look at musculoskeletal stuff, which is the stuff I'm most well versed in, we can look at low back pain, neck pain, headaches, knee pain, osteoarthritis, shoulder pain, all these different conditions. The primary treatment is exercise. But if we look at conditions outside of the musculoskeletal world, the list just kind of keeps growing. So exercise is helpful in treating depression, anxiety, stroke, osteoarthritis, osteoporosis, cancer, specifically breast cancer, prostate cancer, and colon cancer. And so we can see that exercise is really beneficial for us, not just from a musculoskeletal treatment standpoint, but really just kind of overall well-being. And so the question kind of becomes, how much exercise do we really need to reap all of these benefits? And the answer to that is that we need about 150 minutes of moderate intensity cardiovascular exercise per week. And we also should have about 2 sessions of strength training per week as well. If you're someone that prefers higher intensity workouts, the conversion is about for every 2 minutes of moderate intensity exercise, that equals 1 minute of vigorous intensity workout. So that means that per week we would need about 75 minutes of vigorous activity, still with the 2 sessions of strength training per week. And so you might ask, what's the difference between moderate intensity and high intensity workouts? And there are a couple different ways how we define what a moderate intensity workout is versus a high intensity workout. One way we can define this is by using the Borg scale, which is a scale from 6 to 20, which is how we rate how difficult the exercise session was. 6 means that there's no exertion at all. So that means that, if you're just sitting or laying down, that would be rated a 6. And then the highest rating is a 20, and so that means you're out of breath and just gassed. And for a moderate intensity exercise, that means on the scale we would be either about a 12 or a 13, and then for vigorous we'd be somewhere between a 14 and 17. And while this scale seems a little bit off, that it starts at 6 and then ends at 20, it's actually based on your heart rate. So it's based on 60 being the resting heart rate, and so we just multiply by 10. So that's why 6 is just sitting or laying down, because if we rate that as 6 and just multiply by 10, it means our resting heart rate is about 60. There's another way that we can define what moderate and vigorous activity is, and it's going to require a little bit of math. So I'm going to show the formula right over here, and then we'll walk through it. So we'll start by finding what our max heart rate is. And how we'll do that is we'll take 220 minus our age. So I'm 29, which means that my max heart rate is about 191 in theory. And we'll subtract what our resting heart rate is, which mine is 60. So 191 minus 60 is going to equal 131. And so a moderate intensity exercise is somewhere between 40 and 60%. So we'll take the 131 and then multiply that by whatever percentage, and then add our resting heart rate to that to get our final values. And so for the lower end intensity of 40%, I'll take the 131, multiply that by 40%, and then add 60, which was my resting heart rate. And so that's about 52 plus 60, so 112 beats per minute is my lower end target value. And so for the higher end value of 60%, I'll take my 131 and multiply that by 60%, which gets me to about 78. Add my resting heart rate, so add 60. And so my target heart rate for the maximum value is 138 beats per minute. And so after all of that math, if I want to be really precise, when I'm exercising to be moderate intensity, I want to range somewhere between 112 beats per minute and also 138. So anywhere in that vicinity, I'm exercising at about a moderate intensity. And we can check this when we're exercising by checking our pulse. So we can check our radial pulse pretty easily. We want to use these two fingers and not our thumb because our thumb actually has its own pulse. And we'll just come on the side here and we'll just feel for our pulse, and we could just check that. So typically we do about a 30-second time and then just multiply that by 2 to see if we're in that range. Of course, we can use a smart watch or an Apple Watch or something like that as well. And it's not that important that we're right in between those two values. We just want to kind of be in the vicinity of that. And so for the definition of vigorous activity, that's somewhere between 60% and 90%. So we would do the same math that we just did. Instead of 40, we would use 60, and then instead of 60, we would use 90 instead. And that would give us our range for what vigorous activity would be. And while 150 minutes might seem like a lot, and you might not be able to fit it in your schedule, we can actually incorporate it throughout the day because it doesn't all have to be performed at once. So the minimum amount that we need to do is about 10 minutes. So if we just do 10 minutes worth of exercise 3 times a day, which would be 30 minutes, well, we would easily achieve that throughout our work week. So if we just went for a 10-minute brisk walk or took the stairs for 10 minutes or did something like that, we could easily achieve the 150 minutes in a given week. Or we could break it up into 50-minute sessions and just do 3 per week. So if we wanted to go for a 50-minute run or bike ride or something like that, well, we could just do that Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and we would be done for the week. And the big thing is that if we can just incorporate exercise into our daily routine, it has tremendous health benefits. And so while it'd be great if we set aside 30 minutes to an hour per day to specifically exercise, we can also just do it by incorporating it throughout our day. So whether that's going up the stairs like we were talking about, walking to the grocery store, doing something throughout the day where we're active instead of just sitting the whole time or just standing the whole time, we can easily become much more active as a society. And exercise has just tremendous health benefits. When we look at a lot of the problems that we face as a society, low back pain, neck pain, anxiety, depression, osteoporosis, arthritis, all of these things, exercise is a suitable, if not the best treatment option for all of these things, yet we can't find the time or the energy to incorporate exercise into our lives, even though it's the best treatment that we have for it. So if we can just put an effort into exercising and meeting the minimums of 150 minutes of moderate intensity cardio and then 2 sessions of strength training per week, we would make tremendous advances in treating all of these things and preventing them as well. So with all of that being said, I'm actually going to go exercise right now. So let me know in the comments below how you guys have either incorporated exercise into your daily lives or what your favorite exercise is. I'd love to hear it in the comments below. So other than that, hope you guys exercise this week. Remember, 150 minutes per week.